Welcome to another Book Talk with Tracy. Today I would like to talk about one of my books called Neighbours. It is an interesting concept, I suppose, in some ways, and it's gone through a lot of changes, I have to say. The first time it was published in 2014 by Helping Hands Press, and it looked like this. You'll notice the spelling of the word neighbors, and there were just some things about the publishing process that I didn't really like. For one thing, there were no page numbers, and it wasn't until a reader said, it's a good book, but there's no page numbers, that I realized what? I thought I had proofed it when they sent me the galley proofs, and it looked fine to me. So there is a lesson. Make sure that you check everything really, really well. And then about a year later, there were some, I wouldn't say disputes with the publisher, but there were just some things going on. And so I got the rights back to this version. And I did make some changes, and I republished it. And the next way it looked was this. Notice that I spelt it with the Canadian spelling because I am Canadian, and I don't know, I've had some feedback about that you should always use American spelling if you want things to search well on Amazon, but anyway, I went with that. And I also went with a rather busy cover, which has all the main characters on it. You can see if I hold it up there, the various characters that appear in the book. And this is a Calgary skyline because the book does take place in Calgary. So I thought it was a really pretty cover, and I really liked it. And so I republished it in 2016 with this freshened cover and, some revisions. Well, then, because of feedback saying that's a really busy cover, then I changed the cover once again, took off the people, and in fact just put them on the back. So there's the next thing that happened, and I liked it, but again, times change, trends change, and so the most recent cover for this book looks like this. So it's been not republished, but once again got a freshened cover fairly recently, and it's a little bit more modern looking, not so busy. So that's kind of the journey that this book has been through in terms of different looks. But for all intents and purposes, it's the same great story, which I would love to tell you a little bit more about. So, as I said, it takes place in Calgary, Alberta, and when I was originally writing it, there was some economic downturns happening for people living on farms and things around the area, so that was part of the inspiration for the book. And so basically what happens is it's an Alberta cowboy who is the guardian of his teenage sister, and they decide to sell the farm and move to the big city of Calgary. Well, once they get there, they move into an apartment, and then all of the stories take place with characters living in that apartment building. So it's this quirky cast of characters. And I wrote it originally for the original publisher was looking for sequels, like serialized stories. So the first one, which centers around Lester Tibbet and his sister Patsy, the ones who moved to Calgary, it's too long for a chapter for sure, but it's like a long short story, if I can put it that way. And then the next volume, because that's what we were doing at that time, calling it a volume, was about a totally different character who lived in the building, or who had some kind of connection. So then we meet Sherry Chan, who's a successful professor at the university. She has a twin brother, Sherman, and she just happens to be teaching Patsy math, so that's where the connection comes in. And so it's kind of her story and some of the struggles that she has with her culture and trying to live up to her parents' expectations. And then it goes from there. So in fact there are 9 short stories in the whole first series, and then they're all put together in this volume, and they do weave together. Obviously, all of the stories weave together into one conclusion. But as I said, there are several main characters that appear throughout the book, and it was just so fun to write. It was one of the most fun things I've probably ever written. And so maybe I'll tell you a little bit more about that process, the writing process, and a bit more about the characters and things next time. My goal is to keep these book talks fairly short, so we'll dive into it a little more deeply next time. But for now, if you want to get a copy or if you want to look at any of my books, you can head over to my website, tracykrause.com, no E in Tracy, 2 S's in Krause, and check it out. I certainly do appreciate reviews if you've read this book or any of my books, and that is much appreciated. So next time we're going to talk a little bit more about the book, and I will see you then.